All right, let's go over some names at levels that I'm looking at. I'm not calling anything that I think is going to go up right here based on TA. A lot of supports, when it hits support, it just snaps it. Upside indicators as things are falling are failing. So I'm going to look at heavy levels where I will take risk if it hits that. Right here, like on Meta, kind of floating in the middle. No, I don't like that here. We're going to go over everything. So first off, we got VIX expirations tomorrow at close. So I expect the market probably will be up. You know, can I even say that right now? With the government reopening wasn't good for the market. I'm happy that it reopened, right, for the country. Um, but it reopening is initially bullish for like 3 or 4 hours, maybe a day. But then we're going to have the job reports. Job reports are, the economic data is going to be bad, but then bad economic data and high unemployment is then bullish because then there's a higher chance that they're going to cut interest rates and they're going to inject liquidity in the market to kind of save things. So, uh, initially, it could be bad on Thursday. Nvidia's earnings is going to be over after that if this thing's a flop, which they always beat. It comes down to estimates. Estimates may not be good, kind of like AMD. Market could go down with it. On top of the job reports coming out, or on top of economic data, there's a lot more than job reports, job numbers, and all that. Economic data coming out on Thursday. I expect us to probably be down. I think that tomorrow should be an up day. Wednesday could quite possibly be an up day. If it's not, it may be pricing in the economic data that's going to come. And we have the Fed speakers today with the comments, which things, God, the market could just get smacked today. What do we open at on SPY? Let me look at this real quick. We hit a high of six. We had a $10 drop on the S&P. I did fine. I love buying calls in down markets for scalps on quick blow off bottoms. I did great today, other than I had a L there on Tesla, one Tesla L, but I had done 10 plus trades today. So right now, day trading is carrying my portfolio because of the swing trades that are down, right? We got catalysts, fantastic technicals, and things just are not panning out right now. So no more swinging for me until probably right around Black Friday, right around that week, next week. Next week I'll look into it, if not the last week of November, because I'm not liking the way things are going right now. I'm going off TA and Catalyst, and neither are working. And things are kind of too low for me to be comfortable to buy puts. And then when we're at, let's say, a support, or, TA's lining up for calls, and that's not working, I'm not buying Meta here. We fill this gap, I'll consider it. Something that I'm really looking at. Keep in mind, everyone was foaming at the mouth over Rigetti and Qubits. They were like a 50-cent stock not that long ago. I mean, just over here, we were at 83 cents. And a year ago, what a run to 21, then 57. Anyways, where do you think that I'd like to get in this? Just looking at the chart, it's kind of self-explanatory. We have a low volume area, real low volume area there down to 22. 17, 16, and 17, anywhere in this range that it can hit, I'm all over it. Qubits, same thing. Right here, 19. If we go even lower, 18. So let's say this volume shelf sticking out very far, 17 to 19, in between that range. So I could sell puts on it. I could sell the 13 or 12s for very far out, or pick up equity. We'll see. CELH. Someone in the chat had asked about getting in C's today. May pan out, but we have this volume shelf here. That's what I'd be looking at, right around that 38 mark. And if it keeps dropping, the 37 to 38 mark right in there, I would not want to be in that over in here. Just like I wouldn't want to be in this over in here with all this low volume area over here and this gap, which got filled. So I think I'm good on that. I definitely don't see that happening unless there's a serious crash, which could happen. They could tank it in December. They could talk about how bad the economic outlook is. It's too bad. Remember the December of elections, December 2023? That was crazy. December 2023 was nuts. Market went wild on when it came to QE and their comments and how many rate cuts. They're probably going to talk about that, but it's going to come with a twist this December coming up. This is going to be a very important FOMC coming up. Moving on. What else was I going to look at? NVIDIA. This is holding here. It couldn't snap out of this. This looks good. If it was a normal market, we would have already snapped out of that. But we'll see. Everyone's bearish on AI. But I mean, NVIDIA is like the amount of money that they're bringing in, and they have pretty much no competition. I know that's arguable. That's a bit arguable. But I need to see us really over around 189, 190. We can clear that last body, 190, 191. This thing's smooth sailing into earnings, which is, I think it's after hours on Wednesday, right? I'm going to be out of this totally on Wednesday. I don't want anything to do with it then. I'm not going to play earnings. Let's take a look at AMD. This looks good, like it can continue up. That should have happened already. That should have happened right here. We should have continued to have gone up. This was a no-brainer. Actually, no, it wasn't a no-brainer because the trend had been created after we bounced off that. Then we have a solid trend line. This was a no-brainer right here on that candle. This one, look what's below. That is bad. We could come all the way down there to 170 to fill that gap. Volume shelf down here. We're probably going to end up snapping this. We could. I think we will. Moving on. And I'll talk about what I'm going to look for. When is, I can't look it up now because I'm recording Prime Day. Why? They split it up into two. It used to be one in the old days. It was one. There was one Prime Day. It was one time a year. It was right around this time, starting, I think, right about now. And it would go parabolic. This was like pre-split. You all remember pre-pandemic Amazon when it was trading at like $1,800, $1,600 to $2,000? And then they'd have Prime Day, and you could buy those calls. If you nailed it right, it could run like $100 like that. For it to run $100 was nothing, $150. And if you had OTMs, a month out, $300, $200 out of the money, they just freaking cranked. Let's pull up Amazon. One thing that I would be, okay, we're going to come back to Amazon. Google, it's not up on, something that's going to happen with, they announced data center news. If this is not, I don't even know what we would call this here. I suppose we would call this a shooting star. I'd like to see it above everything else, though. If this was placed higher, but it's also not on a dip. It's not an inverted hammer. It's also a shooting star, but the qualifications aren't what I want. Look at that 1, 2, 3 in a reversal. I'd like to see that floating up there. Google is one that I can see some downside on. Look at this low volume area down to 256. That would be nice. Setting up for December. That'd be perfect. Wouldn't it be crazy to fill that? That's not going to happen, though. Let's move on to Tesla. I'd like this. I want that right there. I want all that, and I want it this month. Doesn't matter what I'm down on right now. I can go long there, and it'll just wipe everything that I've been down on. I'm not saying I'm in Tesla calls or something like that, but I'd like to see that. That's where I'd love to add. I remember calling that right there. Look at look at how beautiful some of this TA is. I remember that perfectly in April. It's where I picked up equity. I love looking over this. This was really hot right here. This was really hot. I've been charting that on the newsletter for a while, which those of you that are not on it, it's in the description of this video below. Let's keep moving here. Charted NVIDIA. Microsoft is stagnant. We'll pull up Microsoft here. It's not telling me anything. That's just neutral. What the heck is... Okay. Apple. You all see it? Let's zoom in here. Let's take a look at Apple. That's not good. I want this right here, 256. That's what I want. Then there's a gap right there. I'd love that to be filled. Wouldn't it be cool to have all these gaps be filled, including this one down here, which won't happen at 234? I want that, or at least this gap to be filled. But if that gap's filled, then, you know, we're in a low volume area. Let's keep moving here. Move this camera down a bit. What else? Here's what I'd be looking at. Here's what I'm going to be looking at. And I showed you guys those levels on Meta, Qubits, and Rigetti. Here's what I'm looking at. And I'm not going to buy puts hoping that we're going to drop here, maybe around the job reports, but it may get priced in and then do the opposite, because then, hey, rate cuts are definitely coming if it's bad. So bad news could be good news, right? Market hasn't decided which side it's going to choose on that. Let's pull up Amazon. This is the one. This is the one right here. That gap has theoretically been filled right here, so I don't agree with this. But we're sitting on it respected it. Don't just look that it's on it. It respected it. It came down into it and pushed up and closed off of it with a bullish reversal candle here. Right? I don't want to just keep getting in calls, because they haven't been working out too well. There were some NVIDIAs that were good, multiple times on NVIDIA, that I've nailed since last week to this week, that were fantastic. And I got out, then half, then added, then got out, then added. Been doing that. So with the profit of what I got out of, and then adding back when it's lower, lowering my dollar cost average as it goes. But this looks hot. This looks really good. Wouldn't it be awesome to come all the way down here at this volume shelf at 223? I don't think that's going to necessarily happen. If it does, it's going to happen by the end of this week. And if it does, I'll consider getting calls for the end of the year. But right now is not a swing trader's environment, unless you're nailing puts, but we're all already pretty low on stuff. Unless we get a vertical pop on something like, you know, Google going up simply because, you know, we should have nailed that 1, 2, 3 on the 15-minute today on Google at 294 down to 2. That was a $10 drop because Berkshire Hathaway added it. You know, that's not more revenue for Google. So that should have been puts. That should have been a put fade with how the market was acting. So, but Amazon is, I think Google has downside. Amazon could potentially be at the bottom. Chips, I'm not messing anything to do with AI. Data centers, okay, yeah, but with all the bearish sentiment around AI, I think I'm okay on that for now. So Tesla, until Elon announces that showcase for the Roadster and the hints at the flying car, that'll be an amazing catalyst run. That'll be amazing playing that run up. So hopefully that'll happen. He'll announce it in December or something like that. Not right now. I don't want that to be announced right now with everything coming. Keep your eyes peeled on Thursday. It's very important. Let's see how the market reacts. It could be bad. It could be initially bad, followed by good, because then they're definitely cutting maybe a half point in December. So we'll see. Last thing, IBIT, you know, it had a 1, 2, 3 on the daily. There goes Bitcoin dumping again. These are 3 big candles. Very big candles. Snap and volume shelves. Support down here. Let me go ahead and remove this and remove that. This is support right here. And we've got gaps down here, but it's IBIT. It's not the same as Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and pull that up. That looks bad. That looks really bad. Here we have RSI right here. I'm not going to try to chart that. There is no charting a bull falling. No. Not unless we were already low. You know what I mean? We were trending down, and I don't know. I really think we're going to go lower on Bitcoin. We'll see. I don't see upside on Bitcoin until December 1st. That's when there's going to be rallies in the meantime, and I'm kind of betting on that for tomorrow, but I don't see continual upside on Bitcoin till December, till early December. All right, let's keep moving here. That's actually pretty much it. Was there anything else I was going to look at? See, we already covered CELH. That's pretty much it here. Bull's been getting smacked. They have earnings. We'll see what they can do to get that up. But Amazon, upside, if not right here, definitely there. And Google, if we're going to be bearish this week, that's when I'd consider for puts. We are, if we zoom in here, we are kind of resting on that volume shelf there. I want the indicators to be minimal here. We're somewhat resting on that, but this is a huge low volume area, and it's like this on a lot of stuff. Oh, we haven't even done SPY, and then I'll get off. Look at that. Now, when we had sucked up and closed and respected that, oh my gosh, was that an indication for bulls. Immediately 670 to 680, $10 move. Confirmation that this thing's going to get cracked is when it had not, the body had, this was a wrap right here on this green candle. Now we've closed outside of the channel that we've been in since May. It's not good. PT, my target, 647. We're at 665. Can that happen? It could. Will it? That's a far stretch. 647. It can happen. QQQ. QQQ is still on trend. Let's turn the linear chart on. Qs are on trend. RSI looks horrible. Looks absolutely horrible. This is going lower. Yeah. Doesn't look good. We are on trend though. SPY is not. Financials have been getting smacked. Let's see how the market reacts tomorrow with VIX expiration. Keep your eyes peeled on that. And let's stay tuned and kind of take the sidelines until Thursday. In the meantime, I'm going to be doing very short scalps, which will carry my portfolio through the storm. And before I get off, we've hardly even fallen on SPY. Hardly fallen on SPY, and the destruction across the market has just been ridiculous. This is it. That little bit right there. And look at all the destruction it's caused, especially on the smaller names. Smaller names are the first to go and up, and then they're the first to go down, followed by the bigger names, one by one by one by one, until we get smacked. Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple have been carrying the market, as well as financials, some of the big boys, Goldman, JPM, all those. These peel over. That's it. So anyways, Thursday, keep your eyes peeled. If it's bad, which it probably will be, then again, like I said, then we could probably see short-term bear. But again, that's a bullish catalyst, ironically. If you guys like this content, make sure to like and follow for more.